And speaking of plastic, the New Jersey plastic bag ban begins in effect in May. What does that mean for South Jersey businesses and consumers? Well, let's welcome in our friend Dini Checko from ANJEC, which is also known as the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, to tell us about it. About Dini, she leads the Plastic Pollution Reduction Program at ANJEC, which is a 51-year-old nonprofit working organization to educate, empower, and mobilize New Jersey environmental commissions, green teams, and other municipal officials to protect the environment at the local level. She also developed ANJEC's course on highly effective environmental commissions and edited the Environmental Commission's Handbook, and is a member of the CDRW Plastics Work Group and a board member of the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. She holds a master's degree from Columbia University in organizational development and a bachelor's of science degree from the School of Business at Rutgers University. Let's welcome Dini, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. I really appreciate that. And I'm really excited. We're definitely going to stay in touch, and congratulations on taking this post. I am so excited to be here. I know how activated folks in this group are on plastics and everything environment. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. So I told Ed in advance, I have a lot of slides. I'm going to kind of fly through them, but I will, whoops, sorry. I want to start my slideshow. I have a lot of slides. I'm going to fly through them, but I will be giving this as a PDF to Ed to share out with the group. Okay. So I know how engaged you folks are, so I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty because I only have a few minutes, and you have a fantastic agenda for the rest of the day. Feel free to drop in questions into the chat box. And along with me, I'm thrilled that my colleague, Randy Rothmal, is joining us today. And she's going to help out with answering questions and putting links on. So just the basics, and I'm just going to focus in on more of the technical stuff. So we know that this law bans, plastic bags and polystyrene foam, and the plastic straws upon request started last year on November 4th. So if there's a grocery store above 2,500 square feet, paper carryout bags are banned. And if it's under 2,500 square feet, paper carryout bags are free. So let's just talk about that for a second. What does that actually mean? We're talking about grocery stores, but we're also talking about stores that have a refrigerated section. So think about the Walmart or Targets, the supermarkets, they're super centers, and they're clearly over 2,500 square feet. So they also cannot have paper carryout bags. But let's say you have a store like Bed Bath & Beyond, also a very large store, over 2,500 square feet. However, they don't have any refrigerated section. You can buy certain food items like peanuts and candy bars, but it's not refrigerated. So they could be, they're allowed to use paper carryout bags. All right, so as I said, the straws have already started. With the polystyrene foam service containers, there is a 2-year extension for long handled spoons. So think about 7-Elevens, the Slurpees and such that are much larger, okay? And for meat and fish trays, et cetera, anything prepackaged. Here, again, I just want to go over some of the basics. There's a lot of information in here. Does the state law override local ordinances? Yes, until it goes into effect. I know that you guys have been extraordinarily active, and a lot of your municipalities do have a plastic bag ordinance, and that's going to stay in effect until May 4th. Okay, and what about funding and resources for giveaways on the reusable bags? So there is money set aside for education, and there's only certain municipalities, similar to what Lauren was saying, there's going to be focus from the Clean Communities organization to give away reusable bags to those organizations, to those municipalities that are overburdened. So they'll be getting those bags. But for most municipalities here, you can use your Clean Communities grant money as well as your municipal recycling tonnage money to pay for reusable bags to give out to your residents. So here on the penalties and enforcement, I'm going to talk a little bit more on the enforcement later down the road. But notice with the penalties that the municipalities retain about 30% of those penalty fees, and then 70% goes to the Clean Communities Fund. On the enforcement, number one, it's going to come to the municipality to deal with the enforcement of it. Then it's going to step up to the County Environmental Health Agency, and then finally the DEP. Okay, and then here again, more questions. Can you still buy polystyrene foam food products in New Jersey stores? And the answer is no. So let's, actually I was with a friend today and she still uses small, styrofoam plates. And I had to tell her as of May 4th, you will not be able to purchase those products in store, okay? So the New Jersey Business Action Center is the place to go. They are providing a lot of resources for businesses specifically. So if you're a business and you're confused about what to do, what are the alternatives, that is the clearinghouse. So Randy, I've asked Randy to drop in some of these website links into the chat box, and she's going to do that. All right, so what kind of bags are allowed? So anything that's small with no handles, all right? So that's like produce bags and dry cleaning bags and such. All right, so the straws upon request has begun. And here, hopefully you've seen it. I have seen it around town. I've seen it at the Dunkin' Donuts, and I've seen it at the local Wawa. So I'm very excited when I see that you have to ask the employee for a straw. So part of the law is that the packages of single-use plastic straws and those prepackaged with items like juice boxes that can still be sold in stores. And food service businesses have to keep an adequate supply of single-use straws. And you see that there's another link here. The Department of Health, okay, will be responsible for enforcing the straw mechanism component. So there's a website here that they just started for plastic straws. All right, so the DEP has a whole website, a web page, excuse me, dedicated to the plastic ban law. So that's the where to go. And if you have any questions, Erin Jensen, who's been phenomenal working on this from the DP, she can answer your questions as well. All right, I highly encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to connect with your Clean Communities coordinators. And the bagupnj.com, they have a bunch of downloadable resources and flyers and such. And they definitely work with your Clean Community coordinators to do education. They've been doing a lot of outreach. So ANJEC as well has a website, and we're at NewJerseyNoPlastics.org. So along with flyers, we have FAQs that are a little different from what DP has. We have FAQs going out to residents. So take a look at both of those resources. If you see something on the ANJEC flyers that you're like, wow, that's cool, I want to use that in my town, I want to customize that with our logo, totally fine, let me know. I'll get you the file format and you can run with it. All right, so this is probably what you guys are really interested in. What does my town need to do now, right now, because we're coming up real close, and here we are, May 4th, coming up in a couple months. So educating local businesses and merchants through township newsletters. The bagupnj.com has some newsletters and press releases, examples that you can use. Business roundtables, New Jersey Business Action Center can help set those up. Bring those reusable bags to town. And I think the big thing here is figuring out how to handle noncompliance. So DEP is still working on a guidance document for municipalities, but this is going to be similar to any other ordinance that's local, where the town is going to be the first line of defense. So when you have a resident that calls up that their local bodega is still giving out plastic bags, the town needs to be ready. Who's going to handle that? What is the way for that to be processed? If for some reason the town can't handle it, then it jumps up to the county environmental health agency, and then finally to DEP. And that's going to be for bags as well as polystyrene takeout containers, the styrofoam containers. I'm probably running out of time, Ed, so just give me a thumbs up if you want me to cut me off. But here's a great example of what Jersey City did. So they ran this program called No Straw November, and I love this graphic. I loved it so much that I asked them if I can borrow it, and I did. And on our website, njnoplastics.org, we have a copy of this flyer in Spanish and English. And I like this because it depicts here that, you know, plastic is not just coming into the ocean. So how's it getting there? It's getting there from street litter, which also creates flooding, right? So here, what can I do? Vote with your wallet and encourage reusables, reusables, reusables. So we also have a webinar coming up with the folks from these different state agencies on Tuesday, February 8th at 12:30 with DEP, New Jersey Business Action Center, and Clean Communities. Please sign up through info@anjec.org. And if you have specific questions for me, you can catch me at Checko@anjec.org. And I am sure I'm out of time and I talk really fast. So I'm going to stop share and answer any questions that popped up.
Thank you. How do you pronounce your name?
Sure. It's Nandini Checko. And my nickname is Dini, which is the last 4 letters of my first name.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So does anybody have a question? I have not been monitoring chat. I've been, or you can unmute yourself and ask. Just go ahead. Are you looking at the chat, Dini?
I have a question, Ed. This is Ira.
Please, Ira, go ahead.
Is there some reason you're not specifying that straws, that plastic straws on demand would need to be compostable plastic?
Yes. So compostable plastics on itself is a huge question mark. So part of the law is to have a plastics advisory council, and that council is going to be charged with researching compostable plastics. So here in compostable and bioplastics is a big question mark. We've read a lot of data, scientific data, saying that they don't really work because you need to drop in a lot of virgin plastic to make a compostable. So we have some concerns about it. And what we're encouraging instead is an alternative to plastic, which could be a reusable, it could be a bamboo, it could be pasta straws. I don't know if you saw those. Those are really cool. There's seaweed straws. There's a lot of other varieties versus compostable or bioplastics.
Thank you.
Yeah, we might have time for a couple more. Anybody have a question?
I have a question. I put it in the chat just in case. And how are you going to handle, like, okay, so let's say businesses that use the plastic bags and stuff like that, they may have some in like inventory or whatever. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to handle the transition where they have this in inventory, they can't put it out in the market or anything at that point because of the new ban, as far as to recycle and dispose of that, since they're going to be converting to the more environmentally friendly, or no bags at all, where we have to bring our own?
For sure. Thanks, Jeremiah. That's a good question. So this law has been in effect. So hopefully it's getting out to the businesses and they did not reorder inventory. But let's say May 4th comes along and they still have inventory. Perhaps they can donate those bags to the local food pantry. They can use those bags. So that's one way to make sure those bags don't go to waste.
Okay. Yeah, because
that's why we need to get the message out, and just in case businesses are process of ordering.
Yeah.
Did you have follow up?
Dini, I think that there's one last question I saw in the chat about why why don't we switch to paper bags? And what's the problems with that?
Yeah, so paper bags have their own environmental concerns. They're heavier. They're heavier than plastic bags, but they're extremely carbon intensive. They're energy intensive, and they use up natural resources. So that's why paper, honestly, I think we've been through this, paper or plastics, which is better. And honestly, neither is better because they both have a lot of environmental problems associated with it. So it's better to go reusable.
Okay, I'm going to make an executive call here. I'm going to take 2 more questions. So people slightly raise their hands. And so we'll start off with Joan, please. Could you unmute yourself and ask your question?
The question has to do with many of the stores in the past couple of years, the clerks would only bag plastic bags. If you brought your own bag, you had to fill it yourself. Is that an individual store? I mean, what do we do now when everybody's bringing in, reusable bags? Are they going to bag them? I have a friend who's disabled who's really concerned about this.
Oh, that's a fair point, Joan. That is dependent on the store. And I understand during the pandemic, there was a lot of sensitivity about how the COVID virus transmits onto plastic or onto reusable bags. There was concern about employee safety, which I very much appreciate. But those concerns have been debunked. It is fine to use reusable bags. If you have a store that still doesn't want the cashier to handle the reusable bags, the customer has 2 choices. First is to bag the groceries themselves or put them in a cart and take it out to their car and put them in a box or a bag that way. Does that help? And I also
thank you so much. Yes,
I also have if you want to reach out to me, I have a resource specific to COVID-19 safety concerns around plastic.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see that Vicki has dropped her hand raised. Dini, this has been terrific. Like most of our topics, we try to cram way too much in our stuff, and we'd love to ask these questions. Giving us some great links, and we'll share those in a follow-up email to other people.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. All right, thanks. Sorry, I talked really quickly, but hopefully it was there. Okay.
It was terrific. It was exactly what we were looking for. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Take care.